Hey everybody, what's going on? So today in this video, we're going to do a little bit of a different in-depth episode today. Never made one doing this, but I figured why not? I've made a couple fly fishing videos, so I thought why not show you guys how I catch most of my fish. Now this is just one of the ways that I usually catch the big bluegill, and that is with this little dude right here, what they call a bead head. So we're going to take this, we're going to unravel it here, and we're going to make some casts. We're going to try to catch some big old bluegill. I'll show you guys how I normally catch the big bluegill here in my pond. This rod is a Crystal River rod. It is an 8-foot long, 6 to 7, number 6 to 7 fly rod. I think that might be the weight, like weight 6 or 7 or whatever, I don't know. Don't really know. All I know is it is a lot of fun catching big bluegill, and it is insanely fun to catch bass. I've only caught 2 bass on this, but the 2 bass I did catch were pretty fun. One of them was on topwater, and one of them was on a homemade fly. As some of you guys may or may not know, if you guys follow me on Facebook, I actually caught a 4-pound, 6-ounce largemouth out of this pond earlier today with the new Doc's Lure Company boomstick. You guys may have seen that on Facebook. Pretty cool fish. I was actually throwing it on a little swim bait hook, and I was rolling it really slowly on the bottom, just dragging it. And as you guys know, there's a ledge right out there, and I drug it off that ledge, and it just never hit the bottom. It just kept falling. And I went and I reeled up to it, and I felt him thump it, and I set the hook, caught him. So how I normally throw these, a little bit different from what other people throw. I know a lot of people like throwing these little bead heads with a float or a small bobber. They call it, in the fly fishing world, they call it a float, but it's essentially just a little bobber. And a lot of people do that. I just throw it like a streamer, and it looks just like a little small bug. Actually, I can see a few bluegill. I don't know if they'll bite though. Usually right over here is where I normally catch the big old bluegill at. Right here and back over towards the deeper side. Ooh, one behind it. With the way the water is here in my pond, it's not super clear now since that rain happened, but it's clear to about maybe 5 or 6 inches, so you can see your fly when it's coming through the water. As long as you keep it up in the water column, you can see it pretty decently. And that's normally how I will be able to tell if I'm getting a bite or not. As I'll watch the fly as it comes through the water, and all of a sudden I'll see a small flash, or I'll just see a bluegill come up behind it, and then the fly will just disappear in his mouth. It's definitely a lot of fun. I have quite a bit of work to get done today, but I figured why not get this video done and be able to post it tomorrow before I start doing the work. And see some small bluegill and baby bass. I'm not really seeing any big bluegill though. I'll reel up this line so I can walk down the bank a little ways. Okay, we'll go ahead, walk down here to the shallow part. Oh, there's a big old bluegill right there. I don't know if he'll bite though. He's sitting inside that brush pile, so. Oh no. Oh, no. I knew that would be a mistake. Thankfully, with this really long rod, I can reach it. Hopefully without falling. There we go, just like so. There's a good tip for you. If you get your fly stuck or whatever, just take your rod tip down to it, pull it back up. Okay, and we're back, and I don't think the bluegill's still there, but we'll try again. I don't know if we'll be able to get him though. It's very hard to try to flip a fly like that, so we'll just leave that little bluegill go. There's plenty in here, so maybe we'll be able to see him here in a little bit or something. I've had some relatively good sized bass actually come up and try to hit this fly, and I haven't hooked any of them though. I've actually seen quite a few of them come up and hit it. Right back in this little shallow area is where I normally get the bass to come up and hit. I don't usually catch a whole lot of bluegill back here in the real shallow area. Usually in the areas about a foot to 3 foot deep is where I'll normally get the bluegill to bite, but every once in a while I'll be able to catch one back here. Not a lot though. This main line, I have no clue what it's actually called. I don't think there really was a brand to it. It just was some fly line that I had on the reel when I bought it. The leader is some 8-pound Berkeley trilene though. I was using some 6-pound just random monofilament that I had, and I was a little bit worried about it because if I did end up hooking into a decent sized bass, I didn't want to just have that 6-pound test line, you know. The 8-pound test is a little bit more of a, ooh, I see you there, Mr. Bluegill. But can I catch you? That is the question. And it's all tangled up, isn't it? Nope, we got untangled. I can see 2 big old bluegill right there. Ooh, he tried to bite it, but it was getting a bit too close to that stick and I didn't want it to get snagged. Got some grass on it there. Okay, I don't see them now. I think they kind of swam off after I missed that one. Can't see anymore, so we'll just assume that they've moved on. But yeah, I love fly fishing. Of course I love throwing, 20-pound mono and 50-pound braid, medium heavy rods and all that. Sure, I love doing that, but this fly fishing is something different, There's something way over across the pond, but I can't reach that over there. My 2 favorite flies are either these small bead heads like this right here, or a white foam spider. Here's another thing I'll do also. If I'm going to move spots, I'll cast it out there and kind of troll it back behind me. I usually catch a lot of big bluegill on doing that with the white foam spiders. Those are my two favorites for as far as, you know, big bluegill and stuff. The only two bass I've ever caught on a fly rod, one of them was on a white spider, and the other one was on a homemade fly that I tied with 15-pound braid and 3 feathers, a white, black, and orange feather. So not exactly the greatest fly. After I ended up catching that fish, it ended up breaking. Once I got that fish back in and I unhooked it, there was basically just a plain bluegill hook after that. But it was pretty fun getting to tie a fly and be able to catch a bass on it. I had a lot of bluegill come up and try to eat it, but they were too small to eat a fly that size. There's 2 spots I always get bluegills, either right here or back over there on that end, on the closest end of the brush pile. This is one of the best areas for the topwater flies, the spider flies. Something else I'll do if I'm thinking that the bluegill are a little bit deeper is I'll cast it out and I'll watch my main line. I'll sit there and I'll watch my main line. If it jumps or suddenly starts swimming away from me, I know there's a big bluegill there, or a bluegill. Sometimes they're not big, but if my line jumps or starts swimming away from me, I know there's a fish on it. Normally, if I'm fishing, trying to get a topwater strike with a little foam spider, what I'll do sometimes, especially if I notice there's some bugs falling in the water. Ooh, I thought I had a bite there. Especially if I notice there's some bugs falling in the water or something like that, I'll take my little spider fly and I'll just cast it out and I'll just let it sit there. I'll let it sit there for 10-15 seconds, something like that, and then I'll go ahead and move it. But I don't move it very fast or very much at all, really. I just kind of twitch it once or twice and then just let it sit there. What that looks like to them fish is it looks like a little bug that fell in the water and got stunned or whatever and is trying to regain its stability or whatever, balance, stability, I don't think that's a word. But I've caught a lot of big bluegill like that, and I've also caught some bass. That one bass that I caught it doing that. I've actually got my first ever bass on a fly rod on video. It's one of my first fly fishing videos. I got pretty lucky and caught my first bass on a fly rod on camera. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys learned something about fly fishing, about how I like to fly fish here. Now, I am by no means an expert of fly fishing. Pretty much the exact opposite. I just started fly fishing because I thought it would be pretty fun to do, a little bit something different than my normal bass fishing stuff. And it was a lot of fun when I first tried it. I brought a small little yellow fly outside. The water was real muddy. I thought maybe this yellow will get a bite or two. And I think it was my first or second cast I used the little fly with. And I actually was able to get a pretty decent bluegill. And it was a lot of fun. I've been trying it ever since. There for a little while I took a break from it, but got back into it here in the last few weeks. It's a lot of fun. I actually was able to get one small bluegill on it this morning before I caught that big bass. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. Bye.